I just see it as, because when I was covering the pro-abortion protests outside Alito's home earlier this week, I was calling them that. They were pro-abortion protesters are at this house, and some people were just saying, "Oh, you're being so disingenuous by calling them pro-abortion. They're pro-choice," and it's the choice to do what?
Yeah.
It's like when the people are like, the Civil War wasn't about
slavery.
It's states' rights.
States' rights to what?
Yeah.
No, exactly. And so, I mean, I just view it as that's what they're advocating. I mean, that's the whole. They're not.
But let's
can I make one point real quick?
No.
This whole okay, all right. Well then.
No. Shams, go ahead.
This whole point you just made here, where they would claim it was disingenuous for you to call them pro-abortion instead of pro-choice. That logic can be extended to literally any political position. I'm not pro-gun. I'm just pro a person choosing to have a gun. You have to call gun rights advocates pro-choice now. You can't call us pro-gun. You have to call us pro-choice.
I'm pro-choice on guns.
Yeah, exactly.
People should have a right to choose.
And I have no problem saying I'm pro-gun. I am pro-gun.
Yeah, exactly. Why won't they say pro-abortion? Because they know it's evil.
Right. We had in the Timcast newsroom some articles that were like saying pro-life, pro-abortion, anti-abortion, pro-choice, anti-choice, whatever. I don't know if we ever said anti-choice, but I was just like, I saw a few articles and I thought to myself, we shouldn't use pro-life or pro-choice. Those are political terms. We should just refer to the groups and what they advocate for in that time. So when the left goes out and like, we are pro-choice, and I'm like, no, you're pro-abortion, because I could name a million circumstances where you don't care about a person's right to choose anything. Right. Vaccine mandates is very obvious. And then say, yeah, well, pro-lifers aren't pro-life because they're for the death penalty. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to call them anti-abortion. If you're at a protest and you're like, abortion should not be allowed, you are an anti-abortion protester. Saying pro-life is a political term, and I'm not going to make an argument about what life means or what choice means. If you go out and you say, we want abortion, you're pro-abortion. If you say no abortion, you're anti-abortion. We're done. That's it.
Yeah, well, it's funny because they will usually try to use terms like anti-abortion as a smear, as if it's something to be ashamed of, that I'm against abortion.
Oh, no.
They'll also use terms like pro-birth, like you're not pro-life, you're just pro-birth. I'm like, yes, you maniac. What is wrong with being pro-birth? Like,
because they don't know what your argument is.
Yeah.
And so they say, like, when I see all these memes on Facebook, I'm like, it's so frustrating because they've never talked to a conservative about this. Mm-hmm. And then, so I can see this and I'll say something like, they'll say something ridiculous like it's about power and old white men. And then I'll say something like, actually, the majority of pro-life people tend to be women, females.
That's right.
And it's actually really simple because there's slightly more women in this country. You can call it whatever you want. And then they'll say, you're a right winger. And I'm like, I'm just trying to tell you what they're saying because you're not talking to them.
Yeah.
But they don't.
When it comes to pro-choice, I think the reason that we're going to use, because some people will say, I don't want an abortion, I'm not going to get one. But I don't think the government has a right to stop other people from deciding that stuff.
Does that mean...
Can I make a point here?
What if you have a 5-year-old and you lose your job and you can't afford it anymore? Are you pro-choice?
Well, it depends on how you feel.
Well, should the government be involved in whether or not you strangle your kid to death because you're broke and can't afford the kid?
Good question.
What if you have a 9-month-old baby? Like, it's been out of the womb gestation for 9 months in fresh air, and then one day you're like, I have no money. Should you have a right to choose?
Oh, I think that when you say pro-life, it's implicit that it's involved only when you're talking about the abortion conversation. That's
why
means.
I said we won't use either in the context of these protests. Timcast.com won't say a pro-life protester or a pro-choice. We'll say anti-abortion or pro-abortion. Someone who shows up and says, I'm pro-life, it's a political term. And there are many areas of life you are not saying all life is sacred.
I would say, like, if I'm pro-choice, but I don't think the government should get involved, but I'd be happier if no one ever got an abortion. I'm not pro-abortion. I think abortion's horrific.
You're not pro-choice.
Well, I don't want the government to be like, you can't decide what to do with your body.
So can I ask you, if you were someone who is in favor of the Second Amendment and strong gun rights, but you didn't personally own the gun, would we not still call you pro-gun? We wouldn't just say, well, he's pro-choice. He's pro-allowing to choose, allow someone to choose whether they're going to own a gun. Like, we don't do this. Yeah, like, we don't do this with any other political conversation.
The pro-choice? Yeah. Well, it's a second-tier conversation. It's a second-tier label already. The abortion topic is already there.
You want to know why they call themselves pro-choice?
Because it sounds better than pro-abortion.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, because abortion is like the actual procedure.
And also, a lot of people don't want to get abortions that feel like the government shouldn't be involved in the decision.
Pro-life sounds better than anti-abortion. Granted, pro-choice, in my opinion, sounds worse. Like pro-abortion sounds worse than anti-abortion sounds.
Yeah.
But these are political terms meant to garner support.